let's just hold on. Also, I totally could use a bigger pan. Just not going to. Merry meet and welcome. I'm Taylor and today we're going to be completing our jam and a spoon scones. And when I say completing, you'll see when we finish off how we have done the lemon curd, the blackberry mint jam, and the tomato jam. And so of course those videos will all be linked below. But to get us started, we're going to just mix up the scones, and today we're going to be focusing on actually making those. So let's get going. Merry meet and welcome. So getting started with our scones, we're of course going to start with mixing our dry ingredients all together. So she says to sift in this recipe, so I'm actually going to sift everything. And I just feel like scones are a temperamental pastry, is why I think sifting is going to be more beneficial in this way. So there's not too much to sift, and technically my flour is pre-sifted, you know, how you buy it from the store, so it shouldn't be too bad, but we're just gonna throw it all in there. I'm only making 6 scones, so this is going to be about a cup of flour versus the 2. I just didn't think I needed all 6 or all 12. See how impatient I got? I was just like, okay, it's done. But so it does look slightly different, but you saw I went through it pretty fast, and so we're going to go ahead. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, sorry, I was like, that's interesting. So we're going to also mix the sugar with our dry ingredients today. You may have already noticed that we also have our butter, so it kind of makes sense why we're going to be doing that. And then we have our salt. And then our I feel like I got baking soda, not baking powder, so just a minute where I like confirm which thing I just grabbed. Oh my gosh. Good thing I clean this all the time, huh? It is baking powder. Okay. I've been doing a lot today, so, and I'm like tired at this point. I'm very excited to have these scones. If you know, you know. But I essentially, even though this is the video that comes out later, let's face it, I did 2 of the jam, 2 of those of our sides today. So I had wanted to get them done earlier, but I needed to do the scones today, so I was like, well, I have to have those other ones done. So it's kind of just been like a long day. So we have all of those shifted and mixed. Sorry, sifted. Now we're going to mix it a little bit, you know, just to make sure it gets a little bit more evenly distributed. Now she says to add our frozen grated butter, which is, it was so much lighter to pick this up, even though it's half a cup. And then to use our thumb and forefingers to, I knew this was gonna happen, because I was just like, frozen is frozen, but like the fact that you have to grate it means handling it, and means that chances are it's not going to stay frozen. And that's exactly what happened. So this is fun. Make sure to wash your hands. And then she says to use your thumb and forefinger, which I don't know, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I feel like there's no way to just use your thumb and forefinger and pinch. If anything, I feel like I could still use a spatula. I don't know why she says to use your hands. I know in traditional American style biscuits, this is a very common way to get your flaky textures. I think pie crusts also do this too. So I understand some of it, but I just like, pinching would just take up so much time. And so there is a trick, so you're not just like mushing things together, you're mushing and spreading, mushing and spreading, mushing and spreading. And so that's what you really want to be careful of. Because you want, yeah, I've done this with just a spatula and it's fine. I try to honor the recipe itself, and sorry, I've been, you'll already have seen, I got very frustrated with how some of these other recipes turned out, or just like I feel a little bit like I was so anxious, not anxious because we're here to support our mental health, right? But I was just like overthinking, where I'm just like, I don't know if this is right, and like, so yeah, so like I already talked about those enough, so we're not gonna go into it, but just know that my day is interesting. Okay, so as you can see, we're getting a lot more crumbly texture. So I'm trying to get it even more. See, exactly. I'm using my hand as a literal spatula right now. Okay. Okay. I am... Oh. I was trying so hard. Well, I have to wash them together anyway. So this is good. We're gonna put this off to the side while we go ahead and wash our hands, and then we're going to transition into doing our wet ingredients. Merry meet again. So here we are with our wet ingredients. So to get us started, we don't have heavy cream. I want to use coconut cream. It's a little thicker than I thought, which I'm gonna put down to just the temperature inside my house right now, which is ironic for very many reasons, but I wanted to use this thickness. You also can use coconut milk with full fat and put it in the fridge, and it'll thicken up, and you can use the top thicker part versus the milk that falls to the bottom. Or I don't know if it's still called milk, but like the coconut water, like it kind of separates. But anyway, so this is going to be our supplement, sorry, so messy, our supplemental heavy cream. And then we're using our chia egg today. You know me, I'm just trying to get rid of my chia seeds. So there we go, it's already pretty coagulated. If you're trying to save on bowls, you definitely can mix up your chia egg first and then throw all your ingredients on top inside the same bowl. Then of course we have our vanilla extract. I feel like I'm so messy today. And then we have some lemon zest. I don't know how important this is to the whole flavor of it. I always find whenever like lemon zest is added into like a standard like baking recipe, it's not typically to add flavor, but kind of gives a little bit, I was gonna say spark, but that's not, like, it helps ignite your taste buds, I feel. What is that called? Okay. I'm going to just wipe my hands real quick, and then what we're going to do is I have our dry ingredients just off to the side, so we're going to use a spatula. I already was using that spoon for the coconut cream, so I was like, I'll just use it to mix this. Now what we'll do though is we'll go ahead and mix these all together. So the coconut cream is not as creamy as I thought it would be, because heavy cream is still liquid, but I'm not too upset about it, if I'm being honest, because the thing I wanted was to ensure that thickness, and if I was using the fridge version anyway, with solidifying the coconut milk, I still would have kind of a very similar texture. So I'm just gonna go for it. I will say, I don't think I got the refined coconut because I can smell it pretty well. So that is something to consider. There's probably other heavy cream alternatives. I just didn't research, because I knew coconut cream and coconut milk is one of the more popular ones. So, but my solution to that would be to add some vegan milk, whether that be coconut or not, to this, because you have to think this is gonna be like a biscuit, an American biscuit form. Are scones just English version of an American biscuit? And when I say that, I'm not like, who came first? I don't care. But you know how they call their biscuits like crackers or cookies? So, because I looked up a recipe, because you'll see when we get into like cutting these. I'm like, I'm not gonna go through all that. I just don't feel like it right now. And then it's essentially to cut out like the same thing if you were making Americanized biscuits. So with that same kind of logic, I'm like, well, I grew up making drop biscuits, you know? And so you don't need a cutter, and also because it's dough, like you should be able to form a ball. So that's really what we're going to do, is we're not going to use a cutter. We're going to just form a ball. We know we're supposed to get 6, and that's just how we're going to live our life. Okay. See, look. Awesome. And you only have to roll it out if you want to have uniform shapes. Super prepared. Look at that. Just going right into the next phase. Pow, pow, pow. So, yeah, this is a messy recipe. It's just what I'm realizing. Let me grab these. And I'm going to do this. Thank goodness we've literally had to wash our hands like 3 times while working on this. And we'll use our hand to help get these extra little bits. And then essentially I want to see, we're gonna break it down into half. You'll see why in a moment. So there's that. I'm gonna take, this one's kind of bigger. At least it feels bigger in my hand. So from this one I should get at least 3. But since it's me, I actually probably could cheat and make 4 to just half, you know? And so we're gonna do another half. And then this one will be a good scissor half versus twisting. And then, because I'm not using a cutter of any kind, you can just form with your hands instead. I hope it's like kind of obvious what I'm doing. But this is like a really nice dough to work with. So, and then she recommends like a 2 inches diameter. So this is maybe 1.5 inches, which the fact that like it's only, I'm breaking it into 4s instead of 3s makes a lot of sense. So we'll go ahead and do that. Although I am realizing, well, they should just puff up and not spread out. I'm also like, worst case scenario, I don't know about you, but I sometimes, like when it was growing up, like my grandma would just do whatever she felt like and what made sense, which is like kind of what we're doing here. So I guess thank you for that mentality. But this one's like kind of thicker, so I'm gonna put it there. Because the closer to the center is like the more heat it's gonna get. Anyways, so she one time, like I swear she never made biscuits the same twice. One time the way she made biscuits, she just like put it all in this like pan that had like raised sides to it, and so it baked up, and then it was just like a spatula to cut down and be like, all right, here's this. And there was like no rhyme or reason. She just took the dough, put it out onto the thing, which funny enough I actually almost did, and then just like cut them into squares. But I don't know, I guess I decided to do this to kind of show you something a different way. I don't know. She thinking. So yeah, so they should, but they puffed up only. Like I think that, and it didn't matter. But anyways, so this is going to be our, just kidding, sorry, mentally assessing. Okay, so we have 4 of what are her traditional sweet ones. You'll see what I mean in a moment. We're gonna do 2 more traditionally sweet ones. You can kind of tell, like, obviously these aren't half and half, so every scone is not made equal. So if you want them to all be equal, definitely use a cutter. I don't care. So this one has more weight to it, so we're going to use this. Right, the scissors are more effective. Oops. Okay. So we're gonna form 2 more. See, these are, that one's kind of thin. Okay, that's fine. You can't hear anything that's going on in my mind, but my mind was just like, okay, we'll just plate it this way, because I don't want to forget which ones are which. And you'll understand why that matters to me in just a moment. I'm trying to make sure they're all the same thickness, because that's the trick. You want them to be roughly around the same size, but more importantly around the same thickness. And I don't want to get in trouble with that, so like I am about to. So hopefully, well, let's just hold on. Also, I totally could use a bigger pan, just not going to. All right, so now here's the fun thing. So we have about 2 more scones left in here, scones. And what we're going to do, obviously I don't have goat cheese, so I'm using vegan cream cheese and then some dried thyme. Using my wet towel. See, I should go ahead and wear an apron so that I can tuck my towel into the apron. It would seem almost professional to do such a thing. Okay, so this is where you guys might not like this part, but I just feel like I don't have a good utensil to make sure that this gets completely mixed in. I'm eyeballing this just based off of like what I want, and then I'm literally, because it's not crumbled cream cheese, going to kind of knead this dough in here, and that's how we're gonna get it. So I put the cheese a little bit in the center. I say a little bit because I don't want it to be all in the center, especially as we do it. So we're kind of like creating 2 pockets of cheese. And then I'm picking up all of this thyme around the edges. This is just going to start our process, because then we're going to flatten. This is going to make our dough, as you can see, a little bit stickier. So if you want to add some more flour, you definitely can. I'm also now realizing, okay, so actually I'm going to do this in my hand. That way anything lost is just in my hand. Completely lost my train of thought, because I'm just like, this is so sticky, and I hope like no one is like running away from having to watch this. Anyways, so there we go. It's decently mixed. It is going to be more sticky because now it has that cheese in it, as you can see. So you can definitely add more flour to help that. I was going to say, I'm also realizing it's going to be a little bit bigger, but these are going to be for savory. So I mentioned tomato jam, and as that video is linked, and she recommends to put some cheese and thyme in if you're going to make savory scones. I love savory scones, so I wanted to go ahead and do this, and I'm making 2. Also, okay, so hot take. All of the things that we're trying today would taste good with the savory ones, because cheese naturally is something that can be transferred between ones, and then thyme is not so fragrant over, like, it's not like oregano that really like decides its flavor. Like, you're still able to lean into sweetness if you want and like counterbalance it a little bit. But yeah, especially like lemon curd, like I can only imagine this is going to be so good. So very excited. We have 2 to taste test. I'm using the cream cheese for another recipe, so I can't use too much, and I was just like, oh, I wanted to try this and I totally forgot. So sacrifices were made. All right, just finishing this up. Now here is, okay, so doughy. Here is something where it's interesting. So I personally recommend not preheating your oven when you have to freeze, or if there's any like holding times between when you're starting your recipe versus then, just because like save on gas or electricity, save on not having your whole house heated up and just waiting there. Like, I think it's ideal to have it be perfectly. We'll see how these go. They do look very different. This one looks a lot cheesier than the other one, so I'm very excited. Anyways, I'm not gonna preheat my oven. I could do it now actually, because we're going to put these in the freezer for 10 minutes. And so that's why I would not recommend preheating your oven at the beginning of every recipe, because there was like one time I was following this recipe and I preheated my oven at the beginning of it, got towards the end, and it's just like, you must refrigerate for at least 30 minutes or more. I'm like, don't tell me to preheat as the first step then if I have to literally put this in the fridge for half an hour. That's insane. Especially in cookbooks nowadays. Our ovens don't take that long to preheat. If yours says it's an older oven, work with what you got, you understand yourself. But yeah, we need to evolve. I don't know, I'm going on a rant. Next time you see us, we will actually be taste testing your scones. So as I said, this is gonna go in the freezer for 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna pop it into the oven, and then we will be back here. See you then. Merry meet again. So we have our jam and a spoon scones. I'm now like, it must be, oh, because you have jam and a spoon, which is ironic because that actually is how I got the jam part out. That's funny to me. So, okay, we only have 4 here. The other ones are just to the side because this is just like what I'm gonna eat. We'll see. I may end up eating all of them, which to that point, I definitely could have made more than. Because I thought they would rise a lot more, which I guess it's not that much, not that much baking powder, but based off of like how much she said to make sure how much diameter they had, like these remind me more of like cookies. Truly a biscuit. This is literally the definition, I think, of a biscuit. Sorry, I just think that's so funny. It is like a biscuit and a cookie being mixed together, which it's hilarious. Like if someone didn't know what either was and heard from both Americans and British. Anyways, or English, let me clarify. Actually, I don't know, there might be more. It's notoriously, oh, sorry. Just showing my lack of culture. So we have our jams. So obviously I've tasted all of these on their own and they're very good. I'm wondering how good they're going to be tasting with our delicious scones themselves. So let's go ahead, we're gonna do our taste test and then we're going to be right back. Oh, actually before I do the taste test, I wanted to let you know, so this is the cheesy one. You can it's a little bit harder to tell, but you can see it's like a little bit lighter. So they are easier to point out. Obviously, since I use a chia egg, it's a lot less obvious. But if you aren't using a chia egg, I think even if you use a flax egg, it probably wouldn't show up like this. But you can see like the time in it as well. What else was I gonna say? Oh, also, I think there was something that got mixed or maybe edited out, I'm not sure, because I think there was an assumption that at the end you should brush butter on top of this in order to actually make it golden. As you can tell, these are still very pale. They got obviously a little bit cooked, but it got golden on the bottom. But that's just normal. If you've ever seen how some things, like, they don't turn out as dark as you would have thought, like if you made a pie crust but you didn't like put any like I'm trying to think, because normally you do egg white, but anyway, you get my point. I think there's a step missed to actually turn it golden, because I wouldn't call this golden, this part a little bit closer, but you wouldn't be able to tell. And she says literally it should look golden. So anyways, I had some frustrations, but I think she had a lot of joy in making this cookbook, and that's really what's more important. And we're here testing them out anyway. Okay, final review. It's delicious. So obviously all this I shouldn't say obviously, this was why we did this, to test and make sure, but all of the scones go with all of the jams, and I mean all of them. The savory one was so good with the blackberry mint. I think that's actually one of my favorite. And the reason why I say that though is because the tomato, and in the tomato jam video, which I know that one doesn't have its own video, but because it's part of the grilled cheese, so I apologize for that. I just wanted to honor the recipes as they were shown in the book. But anyways, it's I'm like salivating, it's so good. There's so much flavor in this that the cheese just isn't as pronounced in that. which is why I like the blackberry one, because you can taste the cheesiness and the like sweetness. So I actually, and it was good with the lemon as well. So I actually would recommend just going ahead and doing the savory one completely for all of yours, if that's your vibe. Because I just think it like adds a little bit more to the flavor. The plain ones are just that, they're plain, and I was right earlier, like you definitely don't taste like any lemon from the zest. And then the other thing I wanted to say about it, it tastes like a muffin. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense actually, because it's not quite a muffin. There's a lot more stuff that goes into a muffin obviously, but like if you could say like a plain muffin, not a bran muffin, those are that is bran, right? So like something that quite literally doesn't truly exist, but a plain muffin, that's kind of what this tastes like. I'm not mad at it. Like a shortbread muffin. That sounds weird, but that's exactly what it reminds me of. There you go. Just came together. But that's pretty much this. I'm gonna go ahead, I think I am gonna end up eating all of them because it's just so good, and like I've just had a rough day. I was completely right if you saw in the lemon curd video around just dipping this in there. It's still absolutely delicious, and mixing it like, yes it does settle, but mixing it does perfectly great. So this was really great. All of these you can make in advance as well, and you don't have to do this exact recipe. You can just like go pick up, there's actually a lot of plant-based pre-made biscuits nowadays, I feel, even in my little town. So yeah, I'm just kind of rambling right now. I'm gonna go ahead and eat this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.